What's up, everybody? So the Yankees are back home, and unfortunately they dropped the first game of their homestand against the Tampa Bay Rays by a score of 3-1. This makes a 4-game losing streak now to follow the 6-game winning streak that they had prior to this. They look lost right now. Their offense is sputtering. You know, the one run did come via Miguel Andujar home run, which is his first of the season. But other than that, I mean, they need to shake things up on the offensive side. It's just not working. And then Rich Hill is the second time, you know, a 43-year-old guy from the Tampa Bay Rays. He's a left-handed pitcher. They're making him look like he's Steve Carlton, you know, or like Sandy Koufax. Like, I mean, they have this ability, the way the lineup is constructed, to make average pitchers look like they're 5-time Cy Young Award winners. I mean, it's kind of comical, but. You know, Jameson Taillon did have a decent game. Threw 5 innings, 85 pitches, gave up 3 runs, you know, 5 or 6 innings at 3 runs, that's kind of a workmanlike performance. So you could work with that. But if the bats aren't doing anything for you, then you know what are you going to do? So I'm hoping that the Yankees figure out something to do moving forward. And my next video, I think you'll find the one on tomorrow. I think you're going to find interesting because I'm playing mock GM. I'm playing Brian Cashman. So this is what I would do if I were Brian Cashman right now. So, you know, let me know what you think of that. That's coming out tomorrow, so be on the lookout for it. But, yeah, it's just the way that their lineup is constructed right now, they're going to be horrifically streaky. And they've been this way for a couple years now because, you know, overly dependent on the slugger with lack of versatility in the lineup, lack of depth in the starting rotation. So what happens is they become unbeatable for 2 weeks, and then for the next 2 weeks, they can't beat a high school baseball team, and that's a recipe for disaster if you're approaching the playoffs or want to get in, or if you're in the playoffs, because if you get cold and someone else gets hot, you're done. Okay, done. So this is where the Yankees, you know, an infusion of athleticism and versatility, like switch hitters, guys that drive the ball around, and calling up some guys, you know, that are just sitting there toiling in the minor leagues. I mean, some of our major league guys are just not putting it together now. So light a fire under their butts and bring up a minor leaguer to put a heat on them. Bring up Floreal to put heat on Frazier, right? Bring up Gittins for first base to give them a little bit more versatility. The fact is, I mean, DJ, I'm happy he signed him, but he isn't really doing much. He's hitting 260, and you know, and so there's a lot of things that need to be shaken up. I mean, and you know, I'm hoping that they do it sooner than later because it's June now, and even I've said it, like it's early, but we're getting to the point now where it's becoming a little bit more critical because, and one of the reasons I say that is because Brian Cashman is notorious for waiting until the last minute of the last day of the MLB trade deadline to make moves, and the way that the season's trending right now, a lot of teams are already being proactive and making moves, and by the time the deadline comes, the guys that the Yankees maybe could have had or should have had, or they're going to be gone. They're going to be gone. So I'm really hoping that they do some things, and they do some things yesterday. So, but that remains to be seen what they're going to do. I mean, that's you know, I know people are calling for coaching changes and things like that too. That might, I don't know. I mean, that might be in the playbook too, or a GM change. These things might be considered. I don't know, but. You know, I'm really curious to know, and I've said this before. I'm curious to know what they're going to do, but I hope that these guys don't wait too long. I mean, right now I would have Gittins up and Floreal, period. I would have one of these other young kids like Luis Gil or Luis Medina because they're out pitching. They were out pitching Deivi Garcia. I mean, I still don't understand why they brought him up. He had a 5.6 ERA in the minors. Those other guys had low twos, so I would have brought one of them up before Garcia. Even though Garcia has major league experience, I would have still given one of those kids a shot. And I know Luis Severino has now started his rehab assignment and stuff like that, and I'm really hoping that they're not depending on him either when he comes back to fill in a starting role. If I could do anything, it would be, I would implore them to put him in long relief. Do not have him as a starter this season. Wait until next year until he's full strength. The last thing you want is a setback for this guy. It's going to make his contract look like a disaster. And it's already, for the last 2 years, they've been paying him of a 4-year, $40 million deal. He's missed pretty much all of last year, and he's going to miss half of this year because of Tommy John. So that's almost, $20 million wasted right there of this contract. So he's got this next year and the year after left of his contract. So that's something to keep in mind, too. It's going to look like an albatross if he doesn't come back, if they don't do it right. And the last thing you want to do is rush back Luis Severino. And also put undue pressure on Deivi Garcia, which is why a starter of some sort via trade would be a smart move right now. Not 4 weeks from now, not 6 weeks from now, right now. Who they can get remains to be seen, but it doesn't have to be a big flashy name. Just somebody who can go in there and throw innings and be dependable and reliable, and he might need a change of scenery. And of course, the Yankees lineup needs to be shaken up. It's pretty indicative of their, inability to compete against the higher ranked teams like the Rays. And I'm curious to see how they're going to struggle against the Red Sox, if they're going to struggle. They did well against the White Sox, thankfully, but the Rays gave them fits last year, and the Red Sox are better than expected. So you can't. I can't expect them to go up and play well against the Padres or the Dodgers or the teams like that if they can't beat a lot of the teams in the American League themselves. And again, the streaky nature of it, when you go up against teams that are powerhouses, they have enough depth where there's not going to be, an opportunity to reverse a bad streak if these guys are jumping all over you. So that's the recap. I mean, it's a frustrating loss. It's 3-1. Lucas Licky and some of the bullpen, the relievers, they kept them down after Tyon gave up 3 runs. And again, it wasn't a very bad outing. So they did their jobs, but the lineup, it's not. They look completely lost. So something needs to happen. And I'm pretty confident things are going to start happening in trickles. But like optioning him to bring up him, optioning him to bring up him. At some point, what's the point of these things? Oh, well, he's got these many options left and this many options. If you're going to call him up for one day, what the hell's the point of that? Well, I don't see the logic in that. But that's me. So you guys let me know what you think. Give me your feedback in the comments. Hopefully they turn this thing around sooner than later. I'll keep you fed on all the updates, and watch out for that video tomorrow. I'm curious to know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. Talk to you then.